What's up, guys? Welcome back to a new video here. We got some pretty massive news coming out of Israel. We have seen the civilians of Israel take to the streets protesting against the Netanyahu government. And I would say several 100,000 people are protesting against Netanyahu as the government seems on the verge of collapse. I mean, we are, again, the opposition leader in Israel is saying openly that the government is doing everything it can to start a civil war here, and Netanyahu is openly pushing to do it. So you have the opposition in Israel basically warning that the country is on the verge or the brink of civil war here. And there's a variety of different factors going into this. If you guys remember last summer or 2 summers ago, right before the October 7th attack, the government was basically on the verge of collapse, massive protests due to Netanyahu's authoritarian attempt to basically shut out the judiciary of the country. And now Netanyahu firing the Shin Bet chief, which has been under massive, massive scrutiny. It's been blocked by the courts, and Netanyahu basically is kind of flirting with the fact that they're not going to oblige with that. And there's also protests against Netanyahu for actually continuing the war in the Gaza Strip. And this is so not good for a number of reasons. Number one, Netanyahu wants to stay in power because he knows once he gets out of power, he's probably going to jail for corruption. That is almost pretty much the known thing in Israel. And that's why you're having people take to the streets. They're calling for the end of the war and the release of the hostages, which the current government in Israel seems like they have no intention of doing. So absolutely wild stuff. The amount of people in the streets are legitimately wild. And then this comes at the same time where we're actually seeing bombs being dropped on Hezbollah in southern Lebanon for the first time since December. So we could be opening up a new front in the war in Hezbollah and southern Lebanon once again. So the entire thing just continues to escalate spectacularly here, and an utter disaster. I mean, the fact that you have the opposition leader saying this, I think you could be seeing the end of the Netanyahu administration very, very quickly here. The other thing that's important to note, guys, if a civil war breaks out in Israel, you can bet your ass that the enemies of Israel, like Iran, for example, will absolutely take advantage of this. The Houthis will take advantage. You could definitely see some sort of Iranian attack on Israel if that happens. So a very, very tense situation right now. And honestly, out of nowhere, again, here's some videos coming out of Israel here. Protesters in the streets. Israel under Netanyahu is becoming more and more authoritarian. Israel Prime Minister Netanyahu's attempts to fire the Shin Bet chief and Israel's Attorney General have many words the state may not survive as a democracy. Again, the other faction in Israel, the Attorney General, very anti-Netanyahu. And Netanyahu has basically tried to fire them and solidify his control within the country. Ben Gvir is back in the cabinet. So again, hard right authoritarians taking full control in Israel as Netanyahu looks to solidify control. So a very disturbing development coming out here. Again, all over the country. In Jerusalem, we're seeing massive protests in the streets. And even in Tel Aviv, we're seeing massive, massive protests. And in fact, it's gotten so significant that we're actually seeing the U.S. State Department issue a travel alert for Israel, the West Bank, and Gaza, obviously, on Saturday, citing escalating security risks amid renewed rocket attacks, rising tensions along the border, and widespread protests against Netanyahu. Again, the question is going to be, will Netanyahu be able to survive this in the short term? My guess is no, honestly, and I can't believe I'm saying that because I think that there's so much public pressure, he's going to be forced to resign, or you actually might see Israel in some sort of civil conflict because the country will not be able to survive, I think, if this continues. So this is an utter disaster for Israel, and it's a very disastrous situation. I mean, especially when you're talking about escalation against Iran, this could just encourage Netanyahu to attack Iran and continue the conflict with Israel. Because again, if Israel and Iran go to war, guys, we're probably not going to oust Netanyahu. They can't switch the prime minister in a time like that, which is why I think you could see potential attack on Iran by Israel and the United States, potentially in the short term. So not a good situation developing for a number of reasons. The conflict of interest is just through the roof here. And this is some of the videos coming out of Tel Aviv. Absolutely wild, the amount of people taking to the streets here. And again, it's a tense situation. And this comes at the same time, guys, where we're actually seeing, look at this. This is the IDF is currently striking positions in southern Lebanon. We're getting reports of numerous casualties already. For the first time since December, since the ceasefire between Hezbollah and Israel was signed. So we could be seeing an opening of the front, which could be deliberate by Netanyahu to look to stay and solidify his power. And if you guys remember, guys, the Netanyahu is in power because of the war. That the justification is, I can't leave now because I have to handle the war situation. The reason why he wants to stay in power, he's under heavy corruption investigation. There was a movie that came out recently on Netanyahu. You guys should check that out, where They went in depth and detailed of all the allegations against him. He was taking bribes from a number of billionaires, many of which were American billionaires, corruption to stay in power, and his wife as well, by the way, which is just pretty remarkable, the amount of corruption from this guy. Don't even, we're not even going to talk about right now a lot of his war actions in the Gaza Strip. I'm just saying purely domestic corruption. It is wild. And the chances are, I think there's a likelihood that he's going to be indicted and probably convicted once he leaves office. So again, everything he's trying to do now is to look to maintain power, which is why it's such a scary, scary situation developing in Israel and the broader Middle East in general. And here's the Iranian IRGC commander basically making pretty wild threats here. He said, "We possess a powerful weapon," implying he has a nuclear weapon, although that's not really confirmed as of now, that no other country has. "If our enemies dare to attack Iran, we will prove our words true and demonstrate our strength." Basically saying we will respond. Nothing too surprising there, but again, the idea that people think that Israel and the United States are just going to march into Iran and bomb the nuclear sites and that's it, it's ridiculous. It's a fallacy. You will see an all out war in the Middle East and attacks on American bases throughout the region and Israel as a whole. So, utter disaster potentially developing here. And guys, the fact that we could be on, again, it's super important to note Israel was on the verge of civil war right before the October 7th attack. The reason why that kind of died down for a bit was because of this. So the fact that the opposition leader is saying this is a big, big deal, and frankly, you could potentially see a civil war. It would not be the most shocking thing in the world. At least serious civil conflict. Which I mean, the country is in turmoil as is. The fact that you could have a civil conflict domestically, utter catastrophe for the country itself. So it's an interesting situation developing. Guys, make sure to like and subscribe, by the way. It's super good for the algorithm and it costs you absolutely nothing. And if you want to support the channel in any other way, my Patreon link is also in the description as well. And Amazon links of products I use. So let me know what you guys think about this. That's what I got for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section. Thank you guys so much for watching. Will this lead to civil war? Let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys so much for watching. Crazy stuff's developing. I'll see you later.